Good evening, everybody. This is your girl, Lady J, and I am on Focus on Liberia. Today is the 2nd of March, 2022, and today we are on sex and relationship conversation. Today, our topic will be something that's trending in our community that is usually or that has usually been swept under the rug. We have some activists, advocates, feminists coming up now speaking about it. Today, I'd like to talk about some of these things, of which will be rape and gender based violence. So, I'll be talking about it in a broad spectrum, and then I will be going into what's happening in Liberia. I ask that you please share the video. Let me know exactly where you are watching from. Go ahead, feel free to ask your questions, make your comments. Let's make this show an interactive show today. I know it's a very touchy subject, but I would definitely like to make sure that I get your views on what's going on. Again, this is Lady J on Focus on Liberia, talking about rape and gender based violence. So we'll go right into it. And I just want to go about talking about or giving us at least a brief description or definition of rape. So, rape can be described as an unlawful sexual activities, most often involving sexual intercourse against the will of the victim through force or threat, um, or force with an individual who is incapable of giving legal consent because of their minor status or mental illness or mental deficiency, intoxication, unconsciousness, or deception. In many jurisdictions, the crime of rape has been used or falls under that of sexual assault. Rape was long considered to be caused by unbridled sexual desires, but it is now understood as a pathological assessment of power over the victim. I want to go into scopes, effects, and motivations of this of rape, and then we will go into gender-based violence. So, the legal definition of rape has changed substantially since the late 20th century. So the traditional definition was narrowed with respect to both genders and age. Rape was an act of sexual intercourse by a man with a woman against her will. As rape is now understood, a rapist or a victim may be an adult of either gender or a child. So, although rape can occur in same sex intercourse, it's more often committed by a male against a female. There is also an increasing tendency to treat rape as an act of sexual intercourse by a husband with his wife against her will, and to consider forced prostitution and sexual slavery as a form of rape. In 2012, the U.S. Department of Justice adopted a new definition of rape, and this has to be used in the FBI Uniform Crime Program that will better reflect on how criminal codes are put in when it comes to experiences of rape victims. So, by definition, rape is the penetration, no matter how slight, of the vagina or anus with any body part or object, or oral penetration by a sex organ of another person without the consent of the victim. Rape is often explained or excused as a manifestation of racial, ethnic, or class hatred as a stemming form of um, something in the system where women are viewed as property of men. So, wherever is a region, rape is a serious crime and is treated as a felony in most countries with common law systems. In many rape trials, the guilty or innocent of the accused hinges on whether or not the victim consented to sexual intercourse. So the determination of consent can often be led to distressing, cross-examination when there is a court case. As a result, many rape victims choose not to report the crime to the police or refuse to press charges against their assailants. For example, according to the Bureau of Justice, in statistics, an office within the U.S. Department of Justice, fewer than 1/4 of rape or sexual assaults in the country were reported to police in 2016. I mean, this is the USA. Even when brought to trial, those charged with rape have a higher than average rate of acquittal, mainly because it is difficult to prove a crime of which there are usually no third party witnesses, and because the testimony of women often may be viewed with less credence than that of men. So, rape is thus both unreported and unpersecuted. To protect women from this humiliation, cross-examination, many jurisdictions have adopted a rape shield law, and this law limits the ability of the defendant or the counsel to introduce the accused's sexual history into evidence. I This is a very touchy subject for me, especially during this time in our community when we have a lot of rape going on in Liberia. And it's very sad that we as a society have not come to understand in-depth information of why little girls ranging from the ages of 2 to 6 are being raped. Just this week in Liberia, we have little girls ranging from the ages of 2 to 6 have been raped. And these are back to back to back situations. I find it very, very hard to understand exactly what is going on when it comes to why these men or teenage boys are engaging in this behavior. And it makes me wonder if our French or representatives need to go into chambers and find a different punishment that should be meted out to rape perpetrators. Please share the video and invite your friends because this is a very important topic. We have to discuss this. This is something that has to be discussed. Again, it's a touchy subject because a lot of times maybe this is something that we have endured and we don't want to talk about it because we have endured it. But it's something that I feel should be discussed. My first concern about rape here is why are little girls ranging from the age of 2 to 6, 13 are being raped. This weekend, we're going to be burying a 13-year-old girl that was raped and she died. And we have a trend of this behavior that goes way back. And when you look into it, it's pathetic because um, we have families that decide to handle these things in-house instead of bringing it out. And this is across the board in every country. Instead of bringing it out, so these girls are damaged for life and not much is done. We can definitely do better as a country. We can do better as a people in regards to taking care of this rape situation. It's 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 a very difficult thing to go through as a female, especially when the child is so young. Because but if the child is so young and has not developed her reproductive system and she gets raped, she's not going to be able to live normally. She probably might never be able to heal down there, and her whole life will be traumatic based on what has transpired. Um, I'm still trying to understand this whole situation of little girls being violated in Liberia. I'm still trying to understand what's going on. And this is something that the government has to really, really look into coming in and addressing because it's become very, very problematic. It's like an epidemic in Liberia right now. Every week we as advocates get these different emails, get these different messages in our DMs informing us of rape going on across the country. So, what can we do? What can we do as a country to raise or create better awareness that helps us move to that next level? I want us to move on. Please share the video. Let me know where you're watching from. Next thing we're going to be talking about today is gender-based violence, and I'm going to go over it. So, what is gender-based violence? One might ask. Gender-based violence is violence that is directed at an individual based on his or her biological sex or gender identity. It includes physical, sexual, verbal, emotional, and psychological abuse, threats, coercion, and economic or educational deprivation, whether occurring in public or private life. One may ask why we talk about gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is an issue faced by many people all around the world. Women are disproportionately harmed by gender-based violence. That is why hundreds of organizations focus on ending violence against women. According to the United Nations Population Fund, 1 in 3 women have experienced physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. And that is not including emotional, financial, or verbal abuse. Despite being so prevalent, gender-based violence is largely underreported because of stigma and lack of access to resources to support. Gender-based violence can impact anyone regardless of their geographical location and socioeconomic background, race, religion, sexuality, or gender identity. While women and girls are the most at risk and most affected by gender-based violence, boys and men and sexual and gender minorities also experience gender-based violence. So gender-based violence can have serious physical, mental, and economic social repercussions. For example, sexualized victims violence can lead to unwanted pregnancies, unsafe abortions, STDs, transmitted diseases, as well as isolation and depression. It can also prevent survivors from achieving economic prosperity because of the stigma or physical or psychological trauma caused by this violence. The prevalence of gender based violence worldwide is largely due to a systematic gender inequality that depowers women, girls, and other minorities and stifles their voices so that their stories are not heard and their natural human rights can more easily be taken away. The circle of violence is further perpetrated by a lack of justice, a dearth of an available resource, a lack of economic opportunities, which lead to the survivor being dependent of the abuser. So, for example, in the United States, about 2% of rapists are likely to face incarceration, and perpetrators of of honor killing around the world are rarely persecuted. This allows violent groups and individuals to continue abusing their power without any repercussions. We want to move to Liberia when it comes to gender-based violence. A case that is currently up here with the youth and sports minister Isaac Doe. Story has it, or is alleged, that he and his girlfriend came out of Calabash on the Congotown back road and they got into a fight and he brutalized her. She had initially come out. She had initially taken the case to the police and given her statement. And this is where the media outlets got the story from. But now the woman is silent and she's saying that nothing happened to her based on the fact that she's probably being compensated or asked not to say anything. These are some of the things that are going on in our community, and it's sad. It's really really sad that we have such situation going on, and a lot of times we based on this story, I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, at the end of the day, this man is married, and why was she with a married man and stuff like that?" But that's not the case here. That is not the case here. Somebody child has been beaten and was threatened, and we have a responsibility as a community to speak on these things. Well, we are not speaking on these things because we probably don't care that much until it happens to us. So a lot of times we don't really say much until these things happen to us. And then we have that ability to speak about it, but sometimes it's too late. So it's sad. It's very, very sad. And I would like to read some comments here based on what you have to say about the situation. We can no longer afford to sweep these things under the rug as if they're not happening or as if, they don't matter. Because our young women are being dealt with unfairly when it comes to their future based on these traumatic experiences that they are undergoing. So let's see what we have here for some questions or comments as we proceed. And the number to call in is 605-313-6004. Code is 791403. Please call in. I do want to hear from you guys today. If you have any questions, I want to I want to be able to answer these questions. I really would like to hear from you because we have to discuss this. This is something that needs to be discussed on a large scale. This is something that we need to talk about because we don't have so many, we don't have an awareness of how chronic and how urgent the matter has become in our communities and how detrimental it is to the well-being of our young people. So if you want to call in, feel free to call 605-313-6004. Code is 791403 hashtag. Call in and let's talk about it. If you have questions, let's answer those questions. So George said he has a comment here. Let me see if I can read that comment, see what he states here based on. So he's stating that rape is a very serious crime, and it shouldn't be met with, and it should be met with very severe punishment, especially when carried out against a child and a baby slash a baby. The appropriate punishment should be castration. Castration. I agree that that should be the case. I hope, and George, thank you so much for that comment. I hope Parliament is going to go into chambers and look into this matter on a deeper level. We can't just continue to sit back and not do anything. Some people are stating that why is this girl in this Isaac Doe situation? Why did she retract her statement? Why did she say it didn't happen? And stuff like that. For time immemorial, people of a higher, in a higher echelon has committed these crimes, and they then go to the family and talk it over the family way, give the family some money and say, let's forget about it. I'm sorry. And families, from time immemorial, have agreed on these terms when it comes to their daughters. But I don't know if they know what some of the repercussions are when these things happen. Because when a woman is raped, she goes through a time of a very traumatic time in her life where she sometimes feels very insecure about herself and unloved based on what has happened to her. And if she's not strong or she does not get the right mentorship, she's going to continue onto that path where she also will become depressed about her life, about what has happened. And every time she thinks about what has happened, it's going to make her feel um, sorry for herself. And this is just going to continue. It's going to be hard for her to really get into a loving relationship and be able to see the value of it based on what has happened to her, and all those things. So there are so many different experiences that people can undergo. There are so many things that can happen to a woman that's raped, or a child has been raped, or a boy that's been sodomized. And I feel that, I don't know, I really am trying to put my to go in depth about this and kind of like figure out what exactly these people are doing with these babies. Why are they raping these children? And the only thing I can think about is maybe it's for ritualistic purposes. Because why would a grown man, leave someone his age, someone a year or two younger than him, and go and want to have sexual intercourse with a child? It's it's it doesn't make any sense. And in one of the things that I read here, it's psychologically wrong. But these are some of the things that these people are doing in Liberia right now. And I don't know about other countries. I don't know if this is happening in other countries, but I can't quite put my finger on it when it comes to why why little girls, babies are chosen to go through this. And when these people are taken to the police station, what is being done? What is being done? What is really being done with this? How are they handling it? Are they just taking these men and putting them in jail? What are some of the repercussions? How long is a man put in jail when he violates a child? How long? What are the steps taken? Does is anything done with the victim in regards to helping the victim go through some sort of psychological help? It's a lot that we need to look into when it comes to our country with gender-based violence and rape. We we can't have these things going on, and nobody should feel like, oh, I'm so far away. I live in the States, so that doesn't apply to me or whatsoever. Because we go back home every now and then for different things, and it could be you tomorrow that says, well, it's not my problem. I don't live there. I am calling on all women, all advocates, men advocates, activists to please start to use your voices to speak against rape and gender based violence. We are not making it a priority. And so we are talking about it and then we're dropping it. We are not putting importance to it. Um, there's been certain rape cases, sodomized cases, and we have not heard anything from the gender minister, Minister Piso Sadie, concerning these things. And I'm personally and a little disappointed about these things because I feel um, by now we're supposed to hear from the government about the rise of rape on our younger children, our daughters that are below age, below 18, below 10, below 5. And there should be something that the government has to say about these cases and what can be done. I also would appeal to the women of Liberia to rise up and at least probably do something like a protest speaking on this. If we don't do anything today, we have ourselves to blame tomorrow when it becomes a norm, because that's where it's going to. People are doing these things. We're not hearing how the perpetrators are being, what punishment the perpetrators are getting. We just hear, oh, this person was caught and put in jail, and that case just dies. We don't hear much about it anymore. What punishments are these people getting that will show as an example to other people so that they cannot repeat the act? When they hear how this person went through their situation, they will be able to say, well, if I did that, this is what's going to happen. I want to see what Darlene has to say. Welcome to the show, Darlene. While talking about rape, we should be asked how available are the babies? So that too, in this one case about this 17-year-old boy that's been accused of raping this 3-year-old child in Painesville. I've listened to the story, I've gone over it, I've done some research. Come to find out, there is another degree of abuse with this child from her uncle, based on what the perpetrator that's been identified as the rapist stated that he didn't do it, and this little girl has been tampered with by her uncle, and the family has not said anything about that. When the media went to their house, they didn't mention anything about that. But they were stating that they didn't know why this little boy, this 17-year-old boy, would rape this girl because he's been taking care of her and other kids in the yard. And I saw that there was a mother. I saw that there was the little girl's mom, the little girl's grandmother, and her great grandmother. They were all there. So, what are these women doing, leaving this little baby with with a underage male boy to take care of their children? I mean, I was asking that question like, why would you leave your child with an underage male child to take care of, to change her diapers and all those things? Why would you do that? You 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 want to tell me that with all the ladies in that yard, there's no way that you guys could take care of this baby where you're just leaving her unattended to with someone who is not even an adult, a male figure at that rate. And it just was mind blowing for me. So they sat there and gave an interview to the media and never mentioned that this child has been violated before. So I don't know if what he was saying is true, what he's saying is a lie. And they need to dig deeper into this because these things are very disturbing. What does Jerome Roberts say? Next, I think there's the last comment there. So Ruth Roberts says, no wonder Spoon is now bringing Isaac Doe on Saturday to convince their audience. I don't know what convincing can be done, Ruth. Um, it's a clear cut situation that Isaac Doe did beat this woman and threatened to kill her. And I don't understand why or what he's going to say on Saturday, but we'll all be there to listen to what he has to say. At the end of the day, this should be a police matter and he should be taken to court and be persecuted for what he's done. Again, even if the lady does not want to prosecute the case by law, the case can be prosecuted without her. And someone needs to stand up. I don't care what the dynamics are in the situation of it being, oh, it's a married man and stuff like that, and blah, 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 and stuff like that. I don't care. I don't care. Even if it's a married man, that does not give him the right to put his hand on a woman and threaten to kill her, especially with the position that he holds in society. Leaders in Liberia should be responsible to not break the law. They are not above the law. So we are all looking to see what the government is going to do, and we are looking to see what Spoon FM is also going to do, or Spoon TV is also going to do when it comes to this situation, because with that, women should be aware of what it is. I was going through Facebook sometime this week and I saw Focus on Liberia had put a statement up that they were against rape. And that's a strong statement, and I'm happy that they were able to put it up. I'm happy that I work for um, um, online platform that cares about females to be able to put such a statement up. I feel proud to be sitting here today discussing this issue. I should have been discussing relationships, like what I was doing, goals of relationship, like what I was doing last week, what I promised to come and do. But I could not just sit there and watch these things happening. And then I come here and supinely sit there and talk about sex and relationship when we have an epidemic in our society at this time. And it's sad. It's sad. It's not a laughing matter. It's not a matter to be ignored. It's not a matter to be swept under the rug or whatever it is. We have to face this situation head on and discuss and see how best that we can stop this. So when platforms like Spoon decide that they are going to bring this man on, this man who has this perpetrator, government official perpetrator, on their platform to come and explain to us or convince us that he didn't do anything wrong, I will be there on Saturday to listen to that, because afterwards, I'm going to have my own opinion about Spoon FM or Spoon TV. So that's kind of where I'm at with the whole thing. Jerome has another comment I need to be brought up so I could address it. And he's saying that what could we now say when those that are in high office abusing our women? Jerome, my darling, this has been something that's been happening from time immemorial. This has been something that has always been swept under the rug. People of high power in Liberia have always broken the law and not been held responsible. So now it's something that is done with ease, without any guilt, and it's something that needs to be stopped. This is where we as a people need to start educating our communities about, our families, our communities about the act of standing up to these things and saying no to these little drops of crumbs that these people come with, bearing these gifts when they violate our women and children. We should not be saying, okay, we'll just take it a family way. We have to now start saying, no, let's go through court and let's let a judge hear this case and see what it is. Because at the end of the day, these parents are making decisions for their kids, but these kids are the ones that are going through the traumatic experience that they will never be normal based on what has transpired in their lives when it comes to being violated sexually. So we have to do our best to hold our government officials accountable for these kind of behaviors, because they are high in the rate when it comes to perpetrators. What's the next question or comment from Jasper Jaffer? Minister Doe is not compelled to be on Spoon. He's not employed with Spoon. It's true. I never said he was compelled to be on Spoon. Neither did I say he was employed by Spoon. The comment that was made was he was going to be on Spoon this Saturday to make a statement based on what has transpired. So that was the statement made, and we are all waiting to hear this statement based on what has transpired. So nobody's compelling him. He can decide to be on Spoon and express himself and be accountable for his actions, or he can decide not to. It's up to him. But we, the women in the diaspora and in Liberia, will stand against this. I can definitely say this. It's sad that until it happens to your daughter, your sister, your aunt, your mom, before it becomes something that is serious. Men feel most some men in Liberia feel that it's okay to force themselves on women. It's okay to beat on a woman. It's okay to do whatever it is that they like. The media is full of these things, and we are tired of seeing these kind of things. So we will continue pushing as women, as advocates, as activists. We will continue pushing for something more than just having a talk. We'll push that Parliament goes into their chambers and see how best they can find another solution to stop this. So, with that being said, um, I do want to bring the show to an end at this time. Today, we talked about gender based violence and rape, and I went over some of the trending topics that are going on in Liberia. It's time for everybody to get on board. It's time for everybody to have a say because we only find this serious when it happens to a member of our household, and that should not be the case. We should find a way to stop this. Let me see what George says. Gender ministry should be strengthened and given all equipment like DNA equipment, forensics interview, trained social workers and lawyers, and most of all, public education till there should be political will to do all of these. I understand. Yep, I feel that that should be the case. And if this is something that the gender minister is lacking in regards to some of these things that you've outlined here, the gender minister should be able to come out and request for these things because at the end of the day, we don't know. But sometimes we don't need all these things to begin with. We just need her to be able to come out and acknowledge the fact that there is something very wrong in the society under the auspice of where she directs and leads, and we just need her to be able to come up and say something towards these things. That's kind of where we're at. What's the next? Why you little headed? Oh, no, 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 no. I'm not even going to read this comment. Let's take it off. I'm not going to be able to address comments that are made with disrespect. These are some of the things that are done in Liberia that women dare take for some reason. It's not going to be like, I'm not going to accommodate that here. So I'm not going to address your question. If you can't come up here and this is a platform, this is one of the most educative, respectable platform that I have seen across the board when it comes to learning things. And when we come here, we want to see people show respect to the platform and what is being discussed. If you are limited to a place where you can not even express yourself without using insults, it's a weak argument that I don't want to be a part of. Because at the end of the day, we should be able to articulate and bring the argument to the table instead of using insulting words. So when I see people use insultive words to express themselves, the one thing that comes to my mind is you are not in command of the English language, one, and you are very weak in your thought process and the way you think. And based on that, I will not be addressing such comments on this platform. What's the next comment? So that's thank you so much, Patrick Davis, for watching from Mount Barkley area. So as I was saying, we're going to come to an end of the program. Stephen say he's watching from Boston, Mass. Thank you so much, Stephen, for are joining and watching tonight. George say he's watching from Philadelphia. Thank you, George, for watching from Philadelphia. And I always appreciate you watching. Benedict Waika says he's watching from Minneapolis. Thank you, Benedict, for watching from Minneapolis. Good evening, Jean. How are you? Thank you so much for watching, Jean. So this is pretty much what it is. I've been like really worried all week about the reports that I have been receiving in my email and in my DM and from social media peeps about some of the things that's been going on with our kids and our sisters and our little boys in Liberia or teenager boys. And it's um it's not okay. It's not okay at all. And it's sad that there are people here that know the damage of what these things can do, and they are deciding to turn a blind eye to it either because they are in power or they are part and parcel of the problem. And if you're part and parcel of the problem, just get to know that we're not going to stop. We're going to keep pushing until gender based violence and rape has been brought down to a very minimum level in Liberia, because this cannot continue to happen to our babies, our girls, our mothers, our sisters. It's just sad that we have a community or a society that has some really sick men that decide to do these things. And there aren't much of a punishment or example that can be shown to such people. With that being said, I would like to say thanks to all my viewers. I appreciate you guys for coming on. Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your interaction. I do appreciate it. Next week, we'll go back to relationship goals. Based the 25 relationship goals that was discussed last week. Next week, we'll continue it again. I want to use this time and this platform to encourage any victim of rape or gender based violence to be strong. It's not an easy thing, but I encourage you to be strong. And if you have already forfeited your rights to come up and express yourself, I take this time to say it's all right. You can move on and you can have a normal life. It's don't blame yourself too much. Don't hold yourself responsible. It's been a norm, and this norm has been going on for some time now. For those that are not in Liberia, that are in the diaspora, that has been raped or has been going through gender-based violence, or in other parts of Africa, I just want to reach out to you and say it's not an easy thing to go through or to endure as a woman or as a man. Be strong, put it behind you. If you're a Christian, make sure that you pray a lot. Reach out to people that you can trust and talk to, so that you can be able to move out of that place. It can be depressive. It can make you feel insecure. It has a lot of different external and internal factors that impacts your life. But if you have that hope and ability to be strong, you can definitely live a normal life and be successful in your life based on what has happened, even though this has happened. So based on your strength and your hope, you can definitely have a normal life. It's happened to a lot of people. Some people have become victorious from being a victim to victorious because they have persevered. They were able to find mentors that have been able to talk to them. They've taken themselves out of the situation. If it's a gender-based violence situation, they have tried as much as possible to move past the hurt. It's not easy to move past the hurt. Sometimes you probably might need to go into counseling, and whatever it is that you can do, that you have in your power to do to move on, I really, really, really encourage and motivate you and inspire you to do it, because at the end of the day, Good things, bad things do happen to good people. Notwithstanding, most people are strong and they can withstand anything that comes their way. Again, I want to say thanks to everyone that's watching tonight. You have a nice evening.
We all love you.